Right. Just take a moment to really be here now, be in this space, breathing, slowing down your mind, slowing down your breath, and really receiving, being aware of all the abundance that is all around you and receiving that with every breath in, breathing out all that no longer serves you. Thinking of your intentions, which we're going to talk about today, and everything that you need, want, and desire. As we get started, I want to talk to you all about intentions and counterintentions. This is a really important piece that once I started working with it, it really made a difference, because I started by learning how to set powerful intentions. And over the weekend, I was teaching a class with someone, and one of our students asked us, well, what's the difference between intentions and affirmations? And they're both tools. The important thing is to understand there was a time, a lot of you may remember, when affirmations were all being talked about. Louise Hay put out affirmations, and some people would say they're not working. And that is because you have to get the energy behind the affirmation so they can work, and you can put them in your environment. You can put them on a vision board. I once made this vision board that I loved because I'm a word person, and the whole vision board was words instead of pictures, and I framed it and put it in my kitchen. And so having these words and these affirmations are positive statements in the present of what you're being, doing, and having. And the really powerful is I am, and whatever comes after the I am. And when people would say, I am wealthy, I am healthy, I have abundance, I have prosperity, I have $1 million, all of those things, it's the counter intentions that they weren't paying attention to, and the energy behind the affirmations. Because I could say, yeah, I have a successful business. Oh, why isn't this working? But I have to be able to feel it. So the affirmation is just the start of working with this. So if they haven't been working for you, you can revisit affirmations, but from this perspective. So affirmations are a tool where we affirm, and that can be in writing, that can be saying them out loud. There are other people who provide affirmations that we listen to and we fill our subconscious with. And you may not fully be able to get behind them when you first say them, but you've got to catch wherever you are not getting the energy and the emotion behind them. So when I'm talking about affirmations and intentions, and then intentions and counter intentions. So intentions then are what we begin with. At the beginning of the year, I do a segment for the Fox 2 News now on Wednesday mornings, and I do my little segment on manifesting and mindfulness and all of that. And I was talking about how I stopped doing New Year's resolutions and I started setting intentions instead, because resolutions begin with this place of heavy energy, negative energy, or things that we don't want to do, or we have to do, or we have to give up. I have to go to the gym. I have to lose weight. I have to start eating better. I have to give up sugar. I have to give up alcohol. And they just come from this heavy place, and statistics will back it up. Gym memberships and Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig and all those things that are sold in December and January, and by February, people are out of it. So it's important to pay attention to where you all can do, like I'm teaching you for all your manifesting, where you start with the essence of everything. So the essence of everything is I achieve my ideal weight. I feel good in my body. I find movement that feels good, and I make myself better every day. When I was doing all that walking, the Camino, and every summer when we do those big walks, it's a mindset game for me. And I could feel it, and I could feel it every day. And I'd wake up the morning and say, I am stronger today, until I started believing it, that no matter what, I was a little stronger. And by the end of the week, I really could feel the difference. So instead of making into something I have to do or have to stop doing, and I set intentions that I'm going to stop when I feel pain, where a lot of people that were on the trip with me, they're pushing and the pain is a motivator, but that doesn't suit me. They also are trained athletes and they've lived that way their whole life. So it's everybody's own thing, but for me, it doesn't work. So it works against me. Oh, let's see. Just 1 second. I didn't know how that was ringing through my screen, but through my Facebook Messenger, I thought it was one of y'all's at first. Okay, so what I learned was instead to set intentions, and you can set them at the new year. You can also set intentions at the new moon. And one of the tools that I use is I get an index card. And if I'm going to set an intention at the new moon, that means I'm going to follow that intention for 30 days. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one intention. And if you're practicing working with intentions, don't first pick something that's like your deepest childhood stuff or your biggest area of challenge and heartache and all of that. But you pick an intention and you set one intention. And like I said, you can do it in the new moon. And then for the next 30 days, you focus on that intention. You get really honest about whether every day you're making choices in every moment that are moving you toward or away from that. So even if you move away from it, you just own it and you support yourself in that. You watch everything that shows up. You're hyper alert to the opportunities, and it gives you a way to study this in a real practical way because you're only focusing on one thing. The other thing it helps you learn how to do is in that 30 days, your mind is going to kick up. It's not working. You don't have it. You only got this much money. You actually lost money. You didn't get the client, whatever it is, and you've got to learn to hold your energy for the whole length of time until it happens, no matter what. And sometimes that means in the 30 days, it doesn't complete, and you're practicing holding your energy no matter what and catching the stories, because all the counter intentions are what work against you. So you set your powerful intention and you start doing your part, whatever that is, and you watch for inspiration. And sometimes we're being inspired and guided every day, and then we're the ones not following through. I was telling them over the weekend to the point that now if I am laying in bed and I get a true inspiration to send an email about something or send a private message to someone or do something else, look something up, whatever it is, I will get out of bed and do it. And when I have, the next morning I've woken up and there's been a result. Or I love these when someone comes to mind, it's like you didn't send them a message back, do it now, not tomorrow. I'll wake up and they will have said, I really needed this. I was up in the night and I got your message, or I saw your message, or I opened your email. So you are always being guided on things. I had a friend and colleague, she got a big aha with this because she is such a paper person. I'm not. A journal person, a list person. So she said, every time I get an inspired idea, first of all, she thought it was mental chatter. So she had to recognize that is inspiration to take inspired and aligned action, but she also then would write it in the notebook. So after a while, it would go at the end of a very long list, and she'd either never get to it, or by the time she got to it, the energy isn't there and it's fizzling out. And I showed her, these need to be acted on in the moment as soon as it happens. And I thought I was really good at this, and I pay a lot of attention. But in the times that I've been able to talk with Dr. Joe Vitale, who has mentored me, and he started talking to me about, because he's prolific and he has written so many books, music albums, movies, all of this. He puts out so much output, and his business is so successful. He started modeling for me that every time he gets an inspiration to create something, he does something immediately that makes it into the third dimension. Otherwise, it's in the fourth dimension. It's in your hopes and dreams. And he immediately grounds it in some way. And once I learned how to do that, it brings it into form faster and easier. So I've really even tightened up on that. So you want to start paying attention. So by breaking it down each moon cycle or each 30-day period, however you want to do it, you really get to start seeing how it all comes together, and watching the feedback, watching the opportunities, watching your own energy coming in and out of it. So you set your intention, then you can use affirmations. You can, I have all kinds of things. I have some oracle cards and things I've written on index cards all over, and there are things I read and listen to every day, whether it's music or tones, or I read things that are inspirational and motivational. All of that you can put in to keep your energy high. You really want to catch now the nuances of when you're staying in things and when you're falling out of things. So where the counter intentions come in then are, once you set that intention, and I say, I am creating $10,000 this month. So I can hold that intention. I can write it down. I can say, I have 10,000 extra dollars in my bank account, or I maintain $10,000 in my savings account, whatever it is, the counter intentions, and they'll sneak up, because it's your ego doing its job, trying to keep you safe and comfortable. But the counter intentions are often, especially in the beginning, they're more charged than your intentions. So you're learning to get really behind your intentions. At first, I might be like, yeah, I make $10,000 this month. And my brain's going, I don't know how you're going to do that. And the past few months have been slow. There's a recession out there. Nobody's buying right now, whatever it is, or just you don't have something to sell right now that can do that. Those counter intentions. And if you're trying something new, it can even be like, you tried that once before and it failed. Nobody can do that. That's for other people. You catch yourself judging other people who have what you don't have. You catch yourself with those attitudes of like, must be nice, or they could do it because of who they are and what they have. One always comes to mind, because it happened to Oprah a lot for a while, was, oh yeah, well, sure, I could have Oprah's money and empire if I had a personal chef and a personal trainer and a personal assistant, but she didn't have any of that. But people judge that, and then that's their excuse not to have it. But she built all that, and she didn't have it in the beginning. And so we might catch ourselves letting ourselves off the hook or feeling bad, and you can never become whatever you judge or despise. So one, for a lot of people, is they have to start by saying, what do I say, think, and feel about people with money or rich people? And this is another fascinating one, because we have Facebook, so we see all this play out every day. It's interesting to me how much it'll come up that people judge a certain amount of money. So say somebody makes $50,000 to $100,000 a year, And then you'll see them on Facebook. Well, Jeff Bezos should be giving away all his billions. And I want to say, well, what percentage of your money are you giving away? It's almost like they want to say, if you have this much money, you can keep all your money. But those rich people should be giving all their money away because they could feed the world, hydrate the world. They come up with all kinds of things. And I'm always asking, well, where's the threshold then? Two things. What amount of money then is okay for me to have? And then what amount of money is too much and I should just start throwing it out in the streets and giving it away? Because they also don't realize what it takes. I used to think, do I really want and need $100,000 a year business? From where I started from, it felt big. Then I realized it cost a lot of money to run a business like this. And $100,000, it takes money for the impact and the income. So it's things like that. And then the other one, like I said, was I always want to say, okay, so if he has $50 billion, how much do you think he should give away? Now let's take that percentage and how much are you giving? Because people are always good about wanting other people to do things with their money and they shouldn't have all that, or they shouldn't have that car or whatever it is. So one is to always check anytime you get negatively triggered by some result or something that someone has or they're being or doing, because it's just triggering something in you, and there's healing and resolution there so that you can move forward. So these counter intentions, they're sneaky. They'll sneak up. Some of them will come in the minute you say. I remember back one time I wanted a new car. And instead of getting a practical car, I wanted a red convertible. I was finally going to have my last kid driving. So it's like I've been driving the mom van all these years. And the minute I put it on my vision board, I knew I wanted it. I could feel the desire. I could see myself driving it. And then it would be like, that's not practical, or you don't really need that, or should you have that? And what will people think? And, you're going to have to put a kid through college. And then it was, you can't qualify for that. You can't have that. And I had to get rid of all those things. And then, of course, I live near Frisco, Texas. A lot of you all know where that is. So in a town right next to me, not even at the dealership that makes that car, the exact car was sitting on the lot. Once I decided I could have it at a price I could afford. And then the universe orchestrated all the pieces. So here's another good thing to recognize. There are ways that you would never orchestrate things to happen, but the universe puts everything in order. So in order for me to get that car, at the time, my mother had given my daughter her car. And then my daughter finally got a new car because she graduated high school and was going to college. And I said, I'm just going to drive this car for a while. But it had been through my brother, my daughter, my mother. And finally, I was like, I don't need to be driving this car anymore. And my younger daughter had a car and she was a newer driver and she totaled her car. And so I would never orchestrate that I would get a new car that I want in that way. And she was not hurt. Nobody was hurt. But the universe in divine order, there were lessons my daughter had to learn. And that wasn't up to me. And so she totaled her car. And when I got all the details of all of it, I was like, you know what? You're driving this car. And when then insurance paid me for the total, and I bought myself that car, and all of it worked out, and she worked on her things, and then she ended up getting a car later. So again, you have to realize sometimes things start coming together and you're going to go, wait, I never would have orchestrated it this way. But that's where I say spirit always works in my favor. Spirit is always working in my favor. So I believe that everything that happens is moving me toward what I want and what I'm saying that I want and need and desire. And I can go there with grace and ease, which most of the time is what I intend. But sometimes I'm bumping up against stuff and I'm resisting and I have to learn lessons. And so all of this is going on. And that's when, again, you don't want to start a story. Oh, I only thought I could have a nice car. Now here my daughter has totaled her car and I got to buy her a new car. And look, I can't ever have what I want. I let it unfold and I looked like, what is here that's trying to happen? So the universe, this is where, remember, you have to leave the house to the universe and be detached from the outcome. The universe weaves a whole tapestry. They took into account my husband, my daughter, me, anybody else that was involved in that picture. And the tapestry doesn't always look like we think it will. That's when we really have to trust. Then as you're going along, you can start making up old stories, or you can get triggered. So for instance, everything was going real well. I was working on a new business goal around clients and money, and I got frustrated. And your mind can flip into this all or nothing. So I've had my business a long time now. I know how to make money and make it consistently, but all of a sudden, I made this big reach and I was working on it. And first I had a setback before I had the blessing and the outcome, and my mind got discouraged. And I was talking to a colleague of mine that we mastermind together. And I wrote this crazy story, like I have no clients and no income coming in right now, and I'm not going to hit my goal. And I had swung into the total opposite, but then I read it and I caught myself. And then I wrote her back and I was like, that is stupid. That's not even true. My mind just made up the biggest lie. And it wasn't true, because then I went and looked at the evidence. No, I have 5 clients and these 3 are paying me at my highest new rates. And I just sold people into this, and I love all the clients I'm working with. I had to go look for the evidence because I felt it, where I was feeling more clients, greater impact, more money. There are big things I want to do for my business that need an investment of some bigger money. And then there was more power in the statement when I flipped into that, and I was writing, I have no clients and no money, and my business is going down the tubes. And once I caught it, a new client came in in less than 24 hours or 24 hours. That's how it happens, which brings me to another thing with that. And I had a mentor who said, you can count on this like clockwork. And I've seen this. Whenever you are poised for an expansion, you have a contraction first. So the universe pulls that rubber band back and you contract to gather all your energy right here to shake off what you can't take with you and what no longer serves, and to get your head right. Same with the bow and arrow. You draw the arrow all the way back and you get ready, and then you let it go and you let that rubber band go in the expansion. It'll help you a lot if you recognize, when you recognize that happens, because then you're ready for the contraction. That was a contraction. I rocked along for a year, very steady income, very steady clients. I had raised my prices. I had changed the way people could work with me, and I was going for some bigger things. So the contraction has to happen. And if I had let that story, the universe would have been like, well, we have all this waiting for you right here, but now you got to live this crazy story. So that's why you want to really catch those things, and when they're happening, catch the stories. Know that right now, all of you are hopefully looking at what is your next level, what expansion, what intentions. And I want you to not just play it safe, but to set some things that are going to stretch and grow you. And just know, if a contraction happens, it is meant to happen, and there's a reason for it. And you don't get all worked up and think things are happening that aren't, or that it's not working for you. And then the other part of that, intentions and counter intentions, is the actions. So once you have your powerful intention, you're going to get aligned, inspired action, but there might also be actions you already know to take. And I'm just like everybody else, because I've been in business for one long enough that I know the things that I need to do, and I'll set a big new goal. And then I have to get honest and be like, well, did you do the things that you know to do? No. And then again, then I'm like, why don't I have the results? So you have to look, you'll get brand new, inspired, aligned action. It's just like at a very simple level, you know, if you need to change your blood sugar or your blood pressure, or you need to change your health in any way, we know the things to do. And then we can sit there and say, it's not working, or I don't have more money in my business. Well, did you do the actions you know that work, as well as the new inspired, aligned actions? So there's new opportunities and actions that come in inspired, but they're also consistent, aligned actions. And you're always going to be led back to the action. You're always going to come back to that place. So just take a second here. This will be something you'll work on this week. You don't have to know it right now, but as I was talking about intentions, does one thing that you want, or one outcome or result, or one intention pop up in mind? It could come out of nowhere and you go, oh, that wasn't even the one I was thinking about. Or it's something you've been thinking about and working on. We're actually still in the new moon energy. We're 2 days out from the last new moon. So 3 days before and 3 days after. And you can work on this and get it down on an index card, so you can be working on it for the next 30 days. It's also helpful for this to pick something that is measurable and tangible enough that you can see that it works. At the end of 30 days, you could tell me what did happen. So if it's something really big, even like, I know, you shared with us last week about considering moving and wanting to move, and we've talked about getting new jobs and things. Those are big. So those can either be the intention, or then we can chunk one thing down and make that one thing, finding the area that I want to live in next, or finding the job, what kind of job I want next, or getting clear, or getting my first job interview. You can either make it the big thing, or if it's real big, just like more money in my business, or even a $10,000 month. If you're jumping from, I have not made any money in my business, or I've made $2,500 in a month, to 10,000, you might first do a 5,000. And then if you get that done before the month is over, then to go into the 10,000. So just be thinking for a minute about, and it can be in any area. This works everywhere. So it can be health, it can be money, it can be relationships, it can be career, your own business, any area of your life, creativity, anything that you want. It can even be if you feel like it would benefit you. And these are some of the things that happen a lot because of the joy and desire in the mix. People need to make money. They need to have a business. They need to move their house. They need to make all these changes, but they really want to get some joy and desire going again to help. So they will all of a sudden think of like, well, I do have a desire for a trip, and maybe I've been talking myself out of it because it's not reasonable and responsible to do these things when I have to do these things. And yet you can do some form of that. People have taken themselves on a trip like that, and it has changed their energy and their vibration so much, and changed. In the same way, I used to have people say, oh yes, whenever I get a massage, I make money. And a few coaches had told me that, and I love massages. And so I said, okay, for the whole month of January, this was a few years ago, I'm going to schedule a massage every week, a standing massage appointment every week for the whole month. And I'm not going to break it no matter what, because I used to try to find time to do it, but then I was always busy, and then I had to squeeze in the next client and all of that. And sure enough, because my desire was that would be so fun to make money while I'm laying in my massage. Sure enough, week 1, I came out, my phone said I made money while I was in my massage. So then I said, I make money while I'm getting massages. And you see the joy and the desire that helps with that. So you want to bring joy and desire to it and make it a powerful intention versus a resolution, something you have to do or give up or not do. So be thinking about that. And we are going to talk about those and talk about setting these intentions. It was making me think, Jesse, I think for some reason it's coming to mind where you took yourself out in nature on a trip because you may have done it several times, but we had been talking in another group, if you remember, and you had a lot going on. You're like, I just have to get away. And then you decided to plan a camping trip or some trip, or you went away somewhere with friends or something. It's just in my mind now. And it had positive results. If you can remember what I'm talking about, that it shifted your energy and you needed to do it for yourself. And sometimes we need to do things for ourselves